All right, so 1, 2, 3. I believe these are the same coordinates from the previous tech assignment. So 1, 2, 3, 2, -1, 1. Then vector A, vector B. All right, so your parallel vectors, they're the displacement vectors between A and B. It's not the kind of thing, I don't think, that you need technology to help you figure out, so I just kind of jumped right to it. To create a parametric curve in GeoGebra in 3-space, you use a curve function. You tell it what the parameters are, or the components are with the appropriate parameter, and then what the domain is of the parameters. I usually go -10 to 10 just to give myself a little bit of span, but it's not always necessary. Maybe go -5 to 5. But -10 to 10 seems to get the job done in most cases. All right, so we are doing curve. Then I have 1 plus t. All right, I'm working off of point A, 1, 2, 3. So those are my xo, yo, and zo values. And then the differences. So 1, -3, and 2. All right, so that's where my coefficients of t are coming from. All right, so 2 minus 3t, comma, 3 minus 2t, comma t, comma, -10 to 10. All right, so very easy way to start the whole process off. Move some things around, you can get a sense, but this, I think, illustrates what this story is. If you want your, I suppose if you really want your parallel vectors in there, you can do a quick v minus u. You know, it's not necessary because you can do the math yourself, but it's, and if the numbers are funky, sure, you can do it. But it'll give you that parallel vector, and from there you can at least verify that it is in fact parallel. All right, so my crappy illustration is at least somewhat consistent, the one I did on paper, somewhat consistent with what GeoGebra came up with, which in reality is all I care about. Does GeoGebra agree with me? Yes, I'm doing things right. Actually, that's not entirely true. So we want to do it in general terms. So I want coordinates x sub o, y sub o, z sub o. So the big challenge here is coming up with a slider. So it's up to you if you want to go off of the same, do everything on the same worksheet or app, or if you want to kick over to a new one. The challenge here is well, first off, I have it designated as A and U again. So you'll have different designations there, but I don't think that's a big deal. The big challenge, I think, is the subscripts, because nobody ever remembers how to do that. So when you get stuck, just ask. I'll remind you. X, so you got to do the underscore. If you want to do a keyboard shortcut, I'm sure there's a way in here to do it. It's just, if you've ever tried to navigate through this, you find that unless it's in this main screen, it's in often cases more trouble than it's worth. If you do the underscore, so shift dash, that puts you as a subscript. Then hit the right arrow to get out of it, comma, y, underscore, right arrow to get out of it, z, underscore, put the 0 in, right arrow to get out of it. All right, that's going to designate these as coefficients the minute you click on Create Slider. It created a slider for x sub o, y sub o, and z sub o. So we're working in general terms. It's going to allow you to vary back and forth among your different values. And you could redefine this. It's going from -5 to 5, but if you click on the 3 dots, it'll allow you to adjust the elements of the slider. All right. We want a vector, some parallel vector. You can put in the point ABC. Or you can just type it in this way. Either way, when you click Create Slider, the benefit of doing it this way is if you put in, well, no, I think it's either way. If you, a slight benefit of doing it this way is that there's just one line that you put in. If you do ABC in parentheses as its own ordered triple, create slider, then you'd have to type in vector, whatever that one's called. Here you get it all in one shot. All right, so 3 more sliders, 1 for each of them. And then, of course, for some reason, double parentheses are what should be there. Oh, A is already used. All right, let me call this something else. Advantage of dealing with a new graph or display or worksheet, whatever, is that you don't have to deal with that. I don't think I've used G yet, right? So let me just get rid of these. Create slider. Yeah, because it already used those. Let me just make sure this stuff is still off. That I need. That I need. Okay. All right, so it's very straightforward now because all you're doing is creating a parametric equation related to all your general terms. Right? It's annoying because you still have to type in the x sub o, y sub o, and z sub o, but that shouldn't be too bad. So x underscore 0, right arrow, y underscore, oh, not there yet, plus at, comma, y underscore 0, right arrow, plus bt, comma, z underscore 0, right arrow, plus ct. Define your t, so variable t, comma, -10, comma 10. I don't need a slider. I don't need to create slider because anything that I want to be coefficients I've already declared. T is a variable. It has established what the equation would be based on the current settings, so we're good. Hit enter. It locks it in. Let's take a look. Get rid of this. Move some things around on your slider. I have my parallel vector. Let's just kind of put this in the middle. Animate. And you can get a look at it in all sorts of different ways. Okay, so that's the first part.